Hello. I was going to originally do a short about this, but I'll make an actual full length video because I think it's a very important topic for hammer throwers. And it's the short wire hammer. All right. So I'm not talking about weight throw. This is just short wire hammer. All right. So they're different. All right. They're different. So, all right. So none of what I'm really going to say, well, some of it applies to weight, but just get weight out of your mind for now. All right. So we're gonna talk about the benefits, cons, when to use short wire hammers. All right, and at what level? Like what level? Either like you're a beginner or like the best of the best. All right. So let's start with the benefits. All right, the benefits. The benefits are that one, if you're a beginner, it's gonna teach you how to actually move the ball because it's a lot easier to move the ball because it's a shorter lever. All right, it's not as far away from you, so you can kind of muscle it. All right, now don't muscle it. We're gonna get to that, but if you're a beginner and you have trouble moving the hammer and actually moving the ball and actually, if you throw really timid or you're scared to turn, you can just grab a short wire hammer and just knock the crap out of it and just feel fast. All right. Okay. So that's one benefit. Two, and one of the main reasons I use it for some of my athletes would be to teach them how to counter properly. All right. So what I mean by that is if you have an athlete that has trouble countering the regular hammer, all right, what you can do is you can give them a short wire hammer, and because everything just happens a lot faster and it's a lot closer to you, you have to counter a lot sooner and a lot harder. All right, so it's gonna force you to counter. All right, or else because you can't get away with as much of a non-counter if you're throwing a short wire. All right, so that can be a good fix for someone to feel a counter. Another benefit is just variation. Like if you just throw just a regular hammer, like a regular wire hammer, just 24/7, like all year, it can get boring. Like just doing the same old thing. Even if you vary weights, it can be boring. And sometimes you just need a day to just have some fun and just do something different. All right, to just reset your brain a little. All right, so that can be it can be a good tool for that. Just for something not wildly different, something that can still help your hammer, but it can also just have some fun, do something different. All right, especially if you're just a hammer thrower, you know. So those are the main benefits. Oh well, no, there's one more. The other one is the last benefit that we can get into is, and these are just general benefits, are because it's not as far away from you, everything happens faster. So if you have trouble getting your foot down, if you have trouble feeling the ball go past you, if you have trouble, like if you can't throw a lightweight hammer, another good tool is just to throw a short wire, and it kind of use it for like overspeed training. It's not as common. That's more of like a case by case basis. Like, so mainly that's for like a beginner kind of thing, mainly. But it can be used for a higher level of throwers as well. But yeah, so that's another benefit. So those are the benefits. The cons. Now, the cons are they can get a little tricky because while all those benefits seem really good and all that, the cons sometimes, in my opinion, outweigh. That's why when I do short wire hammers, I don't let everyone do short wire hammers because some people don't even need short wire hammers. Like if you can already do all of the benefits that I said, like if you already have a good counter, if you can already move the ball, you probably don't need to do short wire hammers that much. All right, and the reason is because you can get away with a lot more stuff because it is a different lever. So you don't have to be as patient. All right, so you tend to see a lot more people try to pull the hammer with your left shoulder if you're right-handed. You tend to see people, muscle the short wire hammer instead of letting it long because it feels a little heavier because it's just closer to you. So the feeling is different. All right. So that's probably the main con is that you can just, you can just yank on it. You can just huck the crap out of it, because it's just easier to turn. So that's a big, and that's why a lot of really good hammer throwers don't really do weight unless it's for like a paycheck, because it's just you can just do a lot of stuff that you can't or shouldn't do in hammer. All right, so that's a main con. The other one is, and it kind of goes hand in hand with that. If you are a chronic puller of the hammer, so if you don't tend to use your right side, and this is for a right-handed thrower, and you tend to raise his left shoulder a lot, the short wire can be probably your worst nightmare because it's going to just make it feel better to pull the hammer or to pull that short wire hammer because it won't hurt as much and it will feel better and, like you can just get away with it doing that basically. So that's like the main concern. So yeah, I would say that's probably the biggest con. And then that's basically the only con, but it's a big con. All right, so I would say if you don't need to use a short wire hammer, so like if you're a coach or you're an athlete, if you don't need to use it, I would say don't. All right, just for those reasons. And I would say if you are a chronic puller of the hammer, I would say just don't even throw a short wire until you're not as much of a puller. All right, so it can be a great thing for beginners. All right, like when I say like if I just need a beginner to learn how to move weight, not the weight, but like just move a hammer. That's for like one day. Like I'll just have them throw a short wire hammer for one day and just get them to feel confidence in moving faster. All right, but that's not like a month cycle thing. All right, so because they're gonna get into the habit of the feelings of a short wire, and then when they get to a long wire, they're gonna rush everything. The hammer's probably gonna be behind them, and it's just not gonna end well. All right, so you just gotta be careful of that. So when to use them? All right, when to use them? It depends on what kind of system you're in. So right now we're using them for the fall. So right now we're using them, but we use them so we don't just throw the short wire. I usually like to do a short wire for like 20 throws and then take like 10 throws with the long wire, or not long wire, the regular wire competition weight. Just so, because if they just do a month of just short wire, they're just going to lose feeling for the long wire, and it's going to take a while for them to get it back. All right. So normally you see people throw the short wire off season. You usually don't do it in season because you don't want to lose feeling with the comp implement. All right. You don't want to lose feeling with the regular wire. All right. So regular length wire. All right. So I would say probably don't use it in season. But, like if your coach says to, obviously do what your coach says. I'm not your coach probably. But, if you are one of my athletes, hello. But, I would say probably don't do it in season as a general rule of thumb. Especially, like you can kind of do it maybe like early season. But once you get past like your second meet, I would say do not touch a short wire. Now you can do like different variants of weights. So like you can do like an 18, 16, like 14 or something like that. But in terms of wire length, I would say don't change it. And that also applies to a long, no, you can do a long wire. But short wire is just different, all right? Because it can do more harm than good compared to like a long wire. I I can't really think of many cons for a long wire, but a short wire you can definitely have cons, which I've stated previously. All right, so I would say it's more of an off-season tool, and really more for beginners. So let's get to what level. So all levels do this. You see people like Vadim Witoski do these, to like the average Joe Schmo just starting out in Hammer. All right, so it doesn't really matter what level. It more applies to what you need as an athlete. So if you as a coach or someone or and as an athlete think that a short wire is gonna help your athlete or help you, then try it. But if they just keep pulling and pulling and pulling, and they're not actually trying to throw it like a hammer, and they're trying to throw it like a weight, which you shouldn't do in weight anyway, but probably don't use it, or hold off on using it until they learn how to actually not pull. All right, because once someone gets used to pulling and hammer, and trust me, I know that. That's why I only did. That's why Hammer really hated me. All right, is because I started pulling immediately. All right, and to this day, even if I pick up a hammer, even though I know way more than when I actually threw hammer, I'll still pull. And I just no matter what I do, I just can't push. I just can't. All right, because it's just one of those things that if you start off pulling and you do it for a while and then you try and figure out a push, your body is just gonna no. It's just not gonna. And it will take a long time. A long time. Some people may never recover from pulling the hammer. All right? But I wouldn't say it's impossible. But this is just all personal experience. No matter what I tried, no matter what cue I used, I just could not stop pulling the hammer. All right? So, and that's part of I also did short wires. And I love short wires because I could pull. But it wouldn't translate to a long wire. So, yeah, I would say be careful of that. And that's me talking as personal experience of the cons I mentioned. All right? But, yeah, so I would say really anybody can do it as long as you need it. All right? Once again, and this is very important, if you do not need to throw a short wire, and plus you don't really need, if you don't have access to a short wire, I'm not saying go out and buy short wire hammers and all that. It's fine. It's not it's a thing you can do to enhance, or a thing not to do to enhance. Not doing it can also enhance your throwing. But yeah, so I would say I'm not telling you to buy any short wire hammers. All right, you can make short wire hammers too. You can just grab a regular wire, bend it, and then put each end around the swivel. All right, and then that'll make a short wire. Or sorry, put the wire through the swivel so the hammer's down here, and then go up and then attach the twisty parts to the hammer handle, and then you got a short wire. It's not the best thing in the world, but if you don't actually have actual short wires, then you can just do that. But yeah, so I would say it can be a great tool, but it can also be a bad tool. So I would say, once again, and I know I've said this 50 times, if you don't need it, don't use it. All right? Because it can do more harm than good. All right? But where I say that doesn't apply is, if you just want some variation. If you're some experience, if you're a 60-meter hammer thrower, and one day you're just I'm just so tired of throwing the regular hammer, just try a short wire. Just for one day, just to get your mind off the regular hammer, just to get some variation. All right, so hope this video helps, and let me know if you have any questions in the comments. And other than that, thanks for watching. Have a good day.